Harrison Price for Wednesday, May 6th, 2026. We're a presentation of Bet365. Check out Bet365's 3-goal early payout. When your team goes up 3, you get paid. It's that simple. Download the app today. Must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Matt Sakaris with Blake Price, 4-time Juno Award winner Mike Rogerson, hitting switches, conducting things with intern Elijah Ford. Big show for you. And before we get going today, just an enormous thank you for yesterday. The audience response for our program post-lottery was tremendous. Mm-hmm. We know you love your routines. We know many of you are accustomed to joining the show live at noon. We know many of you are accustomed to the audio podcast coming out at a given hour. So thank you for supporting yesterday during an irregular day.
You seem to adjust very well.
Yeah, you do.
So thank you for that.
Canucks are going to have to adjust now as well.
Indeed.
All that scouting of Gavin McKenna, probably for naught. Well, almost certainly for naught. Who are we kidding? Ivar Stenberg, on the other hand.
Some doubt has been cast.
Well, we kicked it around last night, and we thought we'd poll it today. If the San Jose Sharks selected defenseman second overall, and there are many people who believe that the San Jose Sharks will go defenseman at number 2 because that is the glaring organizational need. They have a ton of young, offensively inclined forwards, while Stenberg would be a fit for just about anyone, assuming the Leafs take McKenna first overall. Chase Reid is a marvelous talent. San Jose has a big need on right side defense. And so, would you be surprised if the Sharks went defenseman second overall? I don't think so.
Macklin Celebrini, Will Smith, William Eklund, Colin Graff, Michael Misa, Philip Kurashev, Igor Chernyshov, all those players, at least a half point per game all of those players are 22 and under and at least half a point per game in the NHL. They do not need. Kurashev's 25 per game.
I was just going to say,
he's the one guy. One guy. Yeah. The rest of them, though, 22 and under and at least half a point per game in the NHL. They do not need forwards.
So if the Sharks go defenseman second overall, who do you want the Canucks to draft? You can vote for Caleb Malhotra, Manny's son. You can vote for Ivar Stenberg. You can vote other. And if you do, please specify in reply. I am seeing people saying, oh, the Leafs are going to pass on McKenna and then the Sharks are going to take number 2 overall. Defenseman number 2 overall. Folks, I understand we're coping here after a lottery loss. I am 99.9% certain that isn't happening. We talked about it yesterday with Craig Button. Gavin McKenna is a no-brainer for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Austin Matthews had his biggest success when he was playing beside a playmaking winger, Mitch Marner, who is no longer there. Gavin McKenna is a playmaking winger. Austin Matthews was yesterday grousing about the team and the talent around him, wanting to see the organization step up after a missed postseason. No better way to do that than gifting him a winger of Gavin McKenna's talents.
It's not false that the Leafs have almost zero top-end defensive talent coming, but they won't look.
Their whole game here is keeping Austin Matthews. We played this on Operation Keep Quinn Hughes, right?
Yep.
Well, and especially after the catastrophe that was that Monday press conference with John Chayka and Matt Sundin, the new brain trust, I see zero way that the Leafs are going to pass on McKenna.
The Leafs, by the way, don't have another draft pick until the 3rd round. Mm-hmm. At that point, they'll start taking defensemen, I would guess. But my goodness.
If we can just bring up that this mock draft, Mike, this is from the Prospect Dawn, a account on Twitter that looks at prospects. And you'll see he's got the Leafs taking McKenna, the Sharks taking Reid, and the Canucks taking Stenberg there. Blackhawks, Malhotra, Rangers, Keaton, Verhoff. We put this question to Craig J. Button, TSN Director of Scouting, last night on our special draft lottery show. And Craig was very clear with his answer. Here's Button.
I'm telling you that Caleb Malhotra is every bit as good as Ivar Stenberg. You know, you might have a number that says 3, 4, 5. Okay, we put numbers beside guys, right? And listen, I just told you I have Carson Carl's number 2 on my list, but I'd take Chase Reid because there's no difference between those two guys. Like it's not like I go, well, Carson Carl's is going to be a Norris Trophy winner, but I'm going to take Chase Reid because he's a right shot guy and he's not nearly as good. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I get a choice now because I have Sam Dickinson in San Jose. I feel the same way about the Vancouver Canucks. I think now you have that chance to get that number 1 center. Stenberg's not a center. He's a winger. You don't build your team up the wall.
So people need to realize that
positional value is a thing.
Rankings sell, right? Like so what we joke about with Rob Williams at the Daily Hive. Like rankings sell. They have to slot somebody here and somebody there. You don't want to put guys at a lateral table. That's not as sexy when you're trying to sell clicks. You have to rank them.
Well, it's also not true to the exercise. Like a ranking is a ranking.
But to Craig's point, if you really don't have a true preference in terms of who's the most skilled player between two players, you're going to go to situational lead.
Yeah.
And if you've got left-handed defenseman, you don't have a right-handed, you're going to go to the right-handed defenseman.
Right. If you have the same draft grade or a similar draft grade on them, positional need and positional value can often tip the scales.
Yeah.
And in Stenberg's case, he was named one of 3 finalists today for the SHL Rookie of the Year, alongside a couple of other very talented players, Viggo Bjork, and nobody would be surprised if he's a top 10 pick next month. His brother Wilson is already in the Canucks organization. And Anton Frondell, the 3rd overall pick last year of the Chicago Blackhawks, who dipped his toe and got his NHL career started at the end of this season. So that's pretty elite company, and nobody would be surprised if Ivar Stenberg winds up being the SHL Rookie of the Year based on what he did for Frölunda this season.
He's continuing to excel with Team Sweden right now. Despite a slower end to his pro season, he's sort of found it again here with the national team. So.
In fact, there are some people who think Stenberg is still the best player in this draft. Here's a tweet. Stenberg plays the 200-foot game. He led Frölunda in points, won 2 gold medals. That is true. The U18s and the World Junior Championships, breaking a long drought for Sweden at the World Juniors. You will see Stenberg listed as number 1 atop draft boards. Okay, Blake, answer me the poll. Where are you going?
First, I'm going to riff off what you just said leading to my answer. I'm not saying the Canucks should be glad that they didn't win the first pick overall. They probably would have taken Gavin McKenna, I'm going to guess. But I did, before the lottery happened, the recesses of my mind, I did have it. God, the Canucks are going to win this draft. They're going to have their first pick overall. They're going to choose Gavin McKenna. And he's going to be a bust because he's a perimeter player that doesn't go through the middle, that doesn't score goals. It was a word. And again, that's not revisionist. That was in the back of my mind before the draft.
I had that thought and worry as well.
You know, they finally get the first overall, and it's the perimeter guy that shows to be too weak for the NHL game. And
it's a guy who has greater bust potential than most first overalls.
Yeah, and a greater bust potential than Ivar Stenberg. Again, high floor. So if regarding the poll question, if that comes to pass, it honestly, I'm so close, but I'll go Stenberg. He's got the potential to me for the more spectacular than Malhotra.
I so wanted to vote other because I think Chase Reid has the most ability to be a championship piece in this draft. We'll get into it later with Dave Hall on why I think that way. There are two things about Chase Reid that worry me. Number one, he's an American. We've just gone through this with Quinn Hughes.
Mm-hmm.
Calgary's gone through it with Matthew Tkachuk. Ottawa could well go through it with Brady Tkachuk. The Leafs may even go with it with Austin Matthews. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Jets go through it with Connor Hellebuck here.
Caulfield in Montreal, you never know.
Yeah. So that gives me some pause. Also, just watching the highlights, reading about him, he does seem to be a little bit of a tunnel vision offensive player. And so that makes me question hockey IQ a little bit. And it's hard to fix hockey IQ. But in terms of physical talents, scarcity of position, greatest potential to be a number one defenseman, championship piece, as I mentioned, I so wanted to vote for Chase Reid. I wound up voting for Stenberg. Bit of a cop-out.
Well,
not enough guts.
Per the poll question,
but
I think
like,
Chase
there's no
Reid,
bad choice. Like we often say with some, there's no wrong answers. There is no wrong answer here.
Except that in the exercise, I think most likely the defenseman that we have going to San Jose is probably Chase Reid.
That's probably true.
I think there's a chance they could go retro and bring Keaton Verhoff back up to the top because of the potential.
I'd be a little surprised.
But given where he's been in the last few months, I'd be surprised.
I'd be a little surprised. So there you go. Vote at the Sekerson Price X and YouTube channels. Our top story brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery, a seminal day in Canucks history, and not necessarily a bad one. May 5th, 2026 could be a blessing in disguise for this woebegone franchise. Explain that in a minute. First, a recap. Adam Kirsenblatt of the Hockey News put out so succinctly. Over a 12-hour period, Canucks fans launched a campaign to ensure Pierre Dorion does not become the next GM of the Canucks, and it sounds like it worked. Some believe that Jim Rutherford's architecture was behind this, that Francesco wanted to hire Dorion, and Rutherford went, ooh, bad idea. Let's get his name out there. Let's have Canucks Twitter do what it does. Number two, they lose the draft lottery not once but twice. Yes, as we have been talking about for weeks, it is actually two drawings, two lotteries for first and second overall. They held the best odds for both of them, both going into and during, and they lost them both. And number three, Jim Rutherford, announcing he's moving to an advisor role after the draft, which, needless to say, would have been our number one story if not for the draft lottery and if not for old Jimmy previewing this a few Fridays ago in his end of season year-end media conference. In fact, Elliot Friedman today on 32 Thoughts, quote, was a big day for Canucks Twitter. They single-handedly got Pierre Dorion unhired. It was crazy. Dreger posted Dorion had interviewed. Drance writes he's the leading contender. Dollywall confirms that. And it's only later in the day where Irf Gaffar and Gary Mason pulled cold water on it, but only after Canucks fans had called Rogers Arena, were tweeting about it, were posting to social media. Outrage. How could you hire this guy?
And again, how did it get to that point? How are you so out of touch with general consensus that you thought that would fly?
Well, look at Keith Pelly in Toronto.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you hold offices like that, believe it or not, you're not in touch with the everyman on the street.
The blinders are down. Yeah.
You're drunk on your own power and opinion. As for the draft lottery loss, I'm putting this out there. Falling to number 3 might have saved them from a number 1 overall bust. And as we mentioned, McKenna has more bust potential than most number 1 overalls. Is there a Nail, Yakupov, Alexander Daigle potential with Gavin McKenna? So number 3, hey, might land them a number 1 center in Caleb Malhotra. Or, as I mentioned, for me, the biggest championship piece in this class, the big right shot, mobile, puck-inclined defenseman Chase Reid.
Or Matt, the fall to number 3 also provokes them to think strongly about trading down and acquiring more assets.
Or just thinking longer term in terms of the rebuild as well. And I know the prevailing sentiment at the moment is, oh my God, another kick in the you-know-whats for the Canucks. But I'm taking my cues from Craig Button on the show yesterday. And the late John Garrett, more on him in the program. A little Eric Idle here on S&P. Always look on the bright side of life. Not bad. Because look at this list for those of you on visual platforms. Look at the third overall picks of the last 20 years. What an extraordinary group of hockey players. Sure, there's some busts in there. Kirby Dach didn't work out to the heights of a number 3 overall. Kakaniemi, Erica Branson, our old friend.
That's a pretty good crop, though, for the
but
most part.
Holy jumping. To be able to add a defenseman, like a Miro Heiskanen level defenseman, a center, a Logan Cooley level center, or a Stutzla level center.
But really, Matt, like outside of Galchenyuk and Bogosian, and I mean, we're talking about all of them are players. Like Kakaniemi may prove us different there, but for the most part, like those are still very, like even you can say what you
want
all
of them are hundreds and hundreds of NHL games,
Yeah.
no doubt. Yes.
And Kirby Dach still had moments here.
Scored in game 5 or game 6. What was the game where the Habs was all their bottom 6 guys led the scoring in a narrow victory? No, you're going to get a player.
Yeah.
You're going to get a player. Of course, we haven't yet turned the page, or at least a lot of Canucks fans haven't yet turned the page. And I understand why. I mean, because it was a live lottery, because you knew how close they were to that first overall pick. And a reminder, after the third ball was selected, they had a 27.3 chance. Their odds had even gone up from where they started.
Mm-hmm.
They were the only team remaining when it came time for that fourth ping pong ball, that final one, that had 3 different numbers that would have vaulted them to first overall. Every other club, with the exception of one, the New York Rangers, was down to 1 number.
I still thought, though, with all those teams in play, it just didn't feel like it was 27.5%. You know, like you just think you're
well, it was
3 balls in.
4.5% for all the single balls
Yeah.
teams. So what was that? 6 of them? 6 of them.
But there's a lot of them. I looked at that after 3 balls and I said, really, there's still a lot of balls that are non-Canucks.
That's
you know, like
no, that's what it wound up being.
Yeah.
Here's Farhan Lalji and TSN, the video they did of disappointed Canucks fans at the sports bar at the official team. Well, I would call it party, but we've been there. We know it isn't much of a party when your team falls in the draft lottery. Mike, do we have that?
That video's not playing.
Oh,
properly.
okay. All right. Anyways, forlorn people in a bar. You've seen it before.
Yeah.
Here's former Canucks defenseman Shane O'Brien weighing in. I feel for Canucks fans. Tough bounce, O'Brien writes. Do we not have that tweet, Mike? Okay.
Maybe Phoenix is freezing on us here.
Oh, is that? What's that?
Potentially.
Uh-oh. Because we got
Just give me a second.
We got some real video to play here. Anyways, Shane O'Brien, of course, he's got some Canucks history.
Mm-hmm.
He felt bad for Canucks fans and the franchise yesterday. I saw fans trying to rationalize a gentleman named Nathan. Maybe Vancouver is a social experiment to see how much professional sports pain a city can take. Yeah? Because here it is, and we referenced this yesterday on the program, but Big Head Hockey has done the math, or at least the compilation, in terms of the Vancouver Canucks draft lottery misery. And there is 10, count them 10, Blake, opportunities in the draft lottery where the Canucks had various percentage chances of climbing.
Remember,
And every single one of them is lost.
Used to be
There used
three
to be
draws.
three, and you used to have varying odds compared to what we're looking at today. The NHL has tweaked this system one way and the other several times.
During those triple pick years, there was a lot of big jumpers.
Well, okay, so 2014, it was a 6.2% chance. Small chance. But 2016, it's a near 50% chance, 48.4% chance.
Canucks get Levy that year, missing out on the chance to get Matthews, Laine, Dubois, Puljujarvi as well, but the big three were the big three.
Then in 2017, Canucks were even worse that year, a near 70% chance to climb.
They got AP 40, could have had Heischer, Nolan Patrick, a bullet dodged, Miro Heiskanen, Cale Makar.
And Trevor Linden hinted to us that summer during President's Week, they had Makar ranked number 1 overall on their draft list. 2018, it's near 40% chance to climb.
Now you get Hughes at 7, but is Rasmus Dahlin asking out of Vancouver? Is Svechnikov or Brady Kitchen? Yeah, he probably is.
2019, a near 2 and 3 chance, 64.8% in 2019 of moving up.
Now they were 10th, so that's greedy to want to move up. They got Puck Colson.
Mm-hmm. And then onwards through the current decade, where until last night, it was very small chances of moving up.
Now, 2021 is interesting in that if they happen to have, as they are cascading down the mountain with their percentage of chances, what are the chances they're making the OEL trade if they win that draft lottery? They make the OEL trade. They shuttle off their number 9th pick that turns into Dylan Guenther in and of itself. But if they win that draft lottery, I don't think they're trading that first overall pick to get OEL.
Please, no.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And add it all up, and Big Head Hockey says there was a 98.5% chance that they would have won at least one time across these 10 lotteries. So less than 1.5% of a chance for it to play out like this for the Canucks at the draft lottery over a decade. It did.
So reverse engineer that. The next time the Canucks have a 1.5% chance of winning the draft lottery, just know they've beaten those odds before. They just did. There was a 1.5 chance in the last decade.
That's right.
They've done it. They've found that narrow path before. Maybe they can do it again.
If only we could run the lottery 100 times.
Yeah. Matt, they could beat that too. Come on.
They probably could. Now to the lottery winners. Oh. So we mentioned Canucks Conversation did a live stream from Greta last night. Check out our boy Harm Dial in the moments before the final ping pong ball is drawn.
Win the draft swear lottery. To God, if the Leafs win this. Win the draft swear lottery. To God, if the Leafs win this.
I'm with you, Harm.
I tweeted out
voice. The Leafs won it.
I tweeted out a personal poll question yesterday.
Oh, a rare.
Worst possible Canucks news this week: Dorian hired as GM or the Leafs winning the draft lottery.
Blake, you tweeted it into existence.
Well, Dorian won the poll, but
here's also a collage of reactions from across different shows here on the Nation Network. So you're going to get a sampling, sadly, of the winners, Riccio, but also a whole lot of the reaction from the losing markets. Well, more than across the country, into the U.S. as well. Take a watch.
Don't you fucking do it. Do not give me a 12. No! No! Oh, yeah! No! Holy shit. Come on! That is some bullshit. Oh, yeah! Fuck you! Fuck you! Oh, yeah! You stupid son of a bitch. Oh, yeah! Oh, my God. Rigged.
1, 5, or 13. No! What? It's the
Toronto
Leafs.
Maple Leafs. Oh.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Here we go. 12.
It's the Leafs.
Shut the fuck up.
It's the Leafs.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh my God. It's the Leafs.
No. Oh, we're behind the stream in the studio.
That's why I think
Are
they
we
got
behind
him.
the stream in the
No,
studio?
Toronto is one.
Come on! We got it! We got it! Are you kidding? Look at this! We got him! Oh my God! We did it, boys! Getting the McKenna! Oh my God! They did it!
Sacks of shit behind the glass.
Oh my God!
I'm tweeting out extend Chaika right now.
Canuck luck strikes again. The Vancouver Canucks have still never picked first overall in the National Hockey League draft, despite entering today with the best odds and things looking very good through much of the drawings. I gotta say, these little things here are as big a curse as any Vancouver Canuck. I have two notes there. Number one, we got to pick up the cursing. There's a lot of cursing on our companion shows across the Nation Network.
Also, remember, folks, media is objective.
Secondly, Dan Riccio has lost his British Columbia card. Dan, we don't want to see you back in this province after that celebratory reaction.
The first profanity-laced tirade, by the way, was Boston.
Believe it or not, it was Boston.
Yeah, so that tracks. Yeah, all across the Nation
Yeah,
Network.
New England, but they have their own version of English.
Mm-hmm.
I want to play one more reaction video for reasons that I'll explain on the other side. But this is the Steve Dangle podcast. If you're not familiar with Dangle, just gigantic Leafs fan. You'll also see the host, Adam Wilde, here, and the other panelist, Jesse Blake, reacting to the Leafs winning in real time.
We're going to Wendy's, boys. Let's get us a Chickenator. Let's go.
Mike, can you stop it on Jesse, the gentleman on the right-hand side there?
12 balls, 12 balls, 12 balls, 12
Right there.
balls,
Wait till he
12
stands
balls,
up.
12 balls, 12 balls, 12 balls, 12 balls. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. That's a lot of Leafs screaming.
Look, right there.
Is he wearing a Canucks jersey?
That is a Vancouver Canucks sweater. I reached out to Adam Wilde. I said, what was going on there? And he said they were so convinced the Leafs were not going to win the lottery with such a puny chance that Jesse Blake said, I am for Vancouver winning the lottery. He put on a Canucks sweater for the show to cheer on the Canucks, anticipating that they would win the lottery. There was a whole lot of pity in the Canucks corner last night, even from rival fan bases. And if nothing else, Jesse Blake gave us a draft lottery celebration in a Canucks sweater. Something that the human eye has never seen in our history.
We didn't see any barn burner there. I'd like to know what they're doing today and if they feel like this was justified for the unethical tank. Remember? Barn burner.
Oh, yeah. Warner.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesse. We needed that.
Does this mean that next year the Canucks media should wear Leafs jerseys? I'm not sure how to work this. I'm just trying to figure out how to escape the 1.5%.
Let's just say this. I see all the people talking about rigged. The NHL wants the Leafs to be good, the biggest hockey market. Rogers owns the Leafs and is this big NHL partner on the broadcast side. Now Rogers gets the first overall pick. Folks, I understood all the suspicion when this was held in a back room without the light of day transparency. I guess if you think it was rigged, you believe what? There's a way to program that ping pong ball machine to spit out certain combinations. It's not rigged. It is, however, extremely unfortunate and undeserving. Look at this. Days on the job before receiving the NHL #1 overall pick. John Chayka, Matt Sundin, 2. Canucks organization, 20,461 and counting. Yeah, we'll add another 360 days to that total. We'll be creeping up to 21K.
Yeah, that's a hell of a way. Like, hours on the job.
Mm-hmm.
Handed first overall.
Jesse Pollock of TSN. The Leafs have missed the playoffs twice in the past 10 years. They've won the lottery both times. Austin Matthews and now
Holy
Gavin
hell.
McKenna. Third one here. The Leafs have won more draft lotteries than playoff series in the last 10 years. 2 to 1.
Yeah, they've been kings of the mushy middle. And for that,
well, they're actually better than the mushy middle. They just choke in the playoffs, Blake.
yeah, but ultimately you end up with draft picks in the mushy middle. And for that dominance of the middle of the league, they are rewarded with 2 first overall picks.
Now, that's the despair. Again, we're going to make it positive here today. We're going to be glass half full. It's time for the jokes. And this is why I can't quit Twitter. Everyone was already stressing the McKenna versus Stenberg debate. Chill. Let's wait till Chayka holds his private combine for the 2, and we'll go from there.
Oh, wow.
There's this one. Breaking. Gavin McKenna expected to meet with State College Police tomorrow. The expectation is he requests jail time instead of being drafted by the Maple Leafs. Pretty good.
It's possible. Non-zero chance there.
Mm-hmm. Then there's the other winner, the San Jose Sharks. 2024 won the draft lottery with a 25.5% chance, the best. Macklin Celebrini. 2025, also the best. Won the lottery for #2, with the selection being Michael Misa. Yesterday, a 5.2% chance. San Jose was better. They were in the playoff hunt down in the final week. A 5.2% chance. And they win the 2nd overall pick.
Yeah.
Folks, as the tweet points out, luck is a big part of this.
Yeah, it is. Sure is. Now, as we just showed you the historic #3s overall, all very good players. For the most part, 94% good players. We can show you some busts at the top too, right? Like there are first overall picks that are not ideal.
An inexact science.
Yeah. So it's hard to feel horrific.
Mm-hmm.
But, the Leafs actually got one of the generational players of the last 25 years.
They did.
Like, you shouldn't have the second go at that so soon, And not that McKenna's not. But, fate doesn't know that.
The baseball's already done it. We've talked about this. If you pick in the top 10 in the Major League Baseball draft, you're ineligible to be first over or no, if you pick in the top 3, you're ineligible to pick in the top 10 the subsequent year.
NBA's going hard at it.
The NBA is reviewing a number of platforms to attack tanking, diminish tanking, equalize the odds a little deeper afield.
Yep.
The NBA is doing this. It's just a matter of which construction they choose there at the governor's table. I do think the NHL needs to look at, okay, if you win a lottery, either number one or number two, that we should have some time before you win another. Remember, it's not just the Sharks. The Oilers and all the first overalls. New Jersey has been very lucky at the draft lottery. Hischier, Nemec. The Rangers,
Hughes.
Lafreniere, Kakko, right? Hughes for New Jersey. That's Jack.
And Hughes.
I believe there's
Hughes
another
and
one.
Hughes, actually.
Yeah, and there's been another one as well. In fact, there's been a couple other ones. So we'll see how much hue cry and whether or not any kind of policy change comes out of the Leafs winning the lottery. Second time in the last 10 years, first overall. And San Jose now getting lucky 3 years in a row for celebrating Misa and whomever they select. There's this drama, though. Austin Matthews was talking just this week about how the Leafs need to improve, basically taking a page out of the book of McDavid and Draisaitl. Wasn't quite as, pounding the table as Leon was. We've got to improve. But did leave open the possibility of wanting out if the Leafs don't get their act together after a poor season. Yesterday, he followed Macklin Celebrini on Insta. And Macklin followed him back.
Ooh.
New bromance. Can-Am.
If there's one team that could pull off a trade for
I would-
Austin Matthews, San Jose would be at the top of the list.
Could you imagine Austin Matthews saying to the Leafs, you know what, Keith, John, Mats, sure, McKenna's great and all, but I just don't see it. I don't think you guys are going to be able to build a championship contender. I still want out.
And ultimately, maybe if you're Austin Matthews too, and you know that you need to get better, do you look at the management at the new GM and go, that ain't the guy to do this here?
Well,
I want out.
The other thing, the happiest guy on earth yesterday was Keith Pelly, the head of MLSE, and not really because of number one and McKenna.
New cycle.
Just because the story changed immediately from that press conference and the hiring of Chayka to who are the Leafs going to take, McKenna or Stenberg. I mean, Craig Button joked with us yesterday. Be prepared for a bombardment of Gavin McKenna material content coming out of TSN and Sportsnet.
Yeah.
As well as the Straw House, McKenna or Stenberg. It's going to be McKenna. As for the Canucks GM search, it's narrowing down, but the bigger news is Rutherford stepping down. And while there's plenty of consternation after the footsie with Pierre Dorion, Blake, again, glass half full. If every instinct the Canucks have is wrong, then by rejecting Dorion and going with an alternative, that's more likely the right answer, right? The old George Costanza opposite. Somebody with the Canucks, I think it might be Aquilini, wanted to hire Pierre Dorion.
Mm-hmm.
That was averted because of the protest of Canucks fans. So if there was misery on the other side of that highway exit ramp, there's a better chance that the exit ramp that they take is going to lead to the promised land, right? That's how this works. No?
Yeah. I mean, better than Dorion that's what you're going to put on the letterhead?
All I'm saying is, in any event, the next guy or gal couldn't do worse than Rutherford and Albany. They came here to bring credibility and stability and did anything but.
Yeah, never mind on ice performance. This has been a tumultuous tenure as Canuck managers.
I mean, I think a lot of people thought they hit rock bottom with some of the Benning memes and phrases and all that.
That was just
along came Talking Jimmy and Patrick Alvin, and we're going to retool it a little bit in a hybrid form.
the Benning years were just your garden variety futility.
Yeah.
This got the best Hollywood writers involved.
Oh, absolutely.
This was like the Christopher Nolan
this was like
of GM tenures.
For sure. To use your garden analogy, this was like a botanical garden that people pay an entry fee to see.
Yeah.
This isn't just a flower bed.
No.
Rutherford moving into an advisor role, although Drance reports he didn't really intend to announce anything on his future last night. He simply answered a question honestly, as we became accustomed to with Rutherford. I mean, and sometimes he just offers things up, right? Like, oh, Quinn wants to play with his brother.
He got put in a pickle.
Yeah, it was a pickle.
Yeah.
You should have zipped it.
My goodness. I mean, it was our understanding this was going to happen, so it's of no surprise.
Trance also says he might be out sooner than the draft based on whom they hire, and we talked about this this week as well. You know, he's owed $5 million from Aquilini. Do you stick around for the whole calendar year to collect all that, or if Francesco says, "Look, Jim, I'll give you 2.5, go away now"? Okay.
Nobody wants the oversight. Like, whoever you're hiring does not want a hoverer.
And that might be better for the new person as well.
Yeah.
Elliot Freeman reporting Dallas Stars AGM Scott White and Anaheim Ducks AGM Martin Madden also interviewed. Freeman saying White joined late because he didn't get the Toronto job. White is also a candidate, or was also a candidate. It's hard to know what's going on with the Predators GM search. I had somebody mention to me a few weeks ago they thought Scott White would get the Nashville job. The scuttlebutt there is that when minority owner and former Alabama football coach Nick Saban got involved in the interviews, he basically rejected everybody they brought to him. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Madden was an amateur scout in Carolina in the Rutherford regime. He was there when the Canes won a Stanley Cup. And does come from a more academic background than your traditional hockey scouting.
Apparently
background.
Good talent evaluator.
I've heard great things about Scott White as well, in a very good front office in Dallas. I know they haven't won a cup, but their first-round draft record is exemplary in Dallas. So I'm encouraged by that. Again, I'm not fearful of a first-time general manager. In fact, for me, it's preferred. JR says they hope to have a decision on the general manager next week. Quote, we're a long ways away. We're a long ways along the way. We've interviewed a lot of people, a good cross-section of people in the hockey world. It's at least 15. It could be up to 18, according to Rutherford. And he said some of the candidates, we talked about this yesterday. This was the scary quote from Rutherford yesterday. Some of the candidates believe the Canucks are through the rough patch of the rebuild and are on the upswing. I guess I can buy on the upswing from this season where you were last by a mile. Like, can it really be this bad again?
And unwilling to admit that you're even rebuilding. So, like, you're always going down if you're denying a rebuild and you're at the bottom of the league.
I suspect, yeah. But through the rough patch, that's a bridge too far for me.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you see a path where things just break right for a bunch of players and this team finishes 25th in the league next year? I can see that. I can see that.
Yes, absolutely. We talked about that in the days following the season.
Yeah.
And the irony
I can see it in 32nd too.
The irony
worry.
is it can even happen without any kind of material improvement from Elias Pettersson. If Thatcher Demko just stays healthy, for heaven's sakes.
If you get a 9-12 save percentage out of Thatcher Demko next year, you're 25th in the league, like you are.
And of course, then you can argue the improvement from within side of things, the traditional route, which is Rossi, Ogren, Ratu, Carlson, Bouillon,
Wielander,
DPD all get better. And frankly, they should get better.
And again, understand what we just said. Not that they get into playoff contention, but merely just not in the high odds to get Landon Dupont. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
They could play their way away from those big odds.
They have like a Toronto Maple Leafs chance.
Yes, merely that.
Of winning the lottery. So here's Jimmy from yesterday. Here's Rutherford talking about some of the candidates and their views on the state of this franchise.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody that's one of the questions. Where's the Canucks now? What do you think? How long's the rebuild take? All those things. And different answers on, I mean, some people felt that where we are in the rebuild, that we are, through a rougher patch of it and start to take the upswing on it. I think all of them acknowledge that there are some good young players here, but in a rebuild, there's still lots of work. One of the things, we interviewed some people that could fall into where we draft. And, of course, we asked them about the draft. And the few people that were in that position respectfully declined to give that answer, which I really thought was great. They protected their own team. They protected their own area. But overall, the guys were very upfront, very honest, and clearly, we learned a lot of stuff.
And that is very appropriate for those teams that are picking in the Canucks territory, and good on Rutherford for bringing that up. Gosh, I saw JPAT tweet today. We're probably down to just one more Jim Rutherford media availability with the Canucks upon the hiring of this new GM.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you all, but I have had such a love-hate relationship with Jim Rutherford in the public comments since he's gotten here. Because we just went through it. Some of the things he said, pickle, zip it, Quinn wants to play with his brothers, Pettersson's work ethic, things that just land so hard from Rutherford's mouth. And then there are other times where Jimmy's talking and spewing the honesty where I just find myself nodding my head going, yes, and good on him for communicating with the fans like this. Like the early part of that answer, when he talks about some of the questions that are being asked, like basically bringing you, the fan, into the process of GM interviews. There's not a lot of guys who would do that.
Okay, but you basically...
And I thought it was solid process. Of course you're going to ask all those questions and want to ask those questions.
You're applauding the guy for being super honest about all the terrible things that are happening in the organization under his purview.
You know what, Blake, is honesty doesn't come as easily when there are terrible things happening in the organization.
No, that's true.
And I admire him and commend him for that.
If the sentence is, was Jim Rutherford mostly honest with this fan base? Yeah, absolutely he was.
Yeah, he was.
Was Jim Rutherford mostly a failure with this hockey team?
Also,
yes.
Yeah, both things can be true.
Yes.
But I stand to be corrected here by whomever inherits. But I think it's fair to say it will be a long time, if ever, where we get a chief hockey executive here in Vancouver who speaks with the degree of unfiltered honesty that Jim Rutherford has provided for the last 4+ years. And I know for a lot of you, you don't want that honesty because of some of the things landing hard, because of hockey culture, or just, I don't care if they're honest or not, just win. That's my focus. I hear all that.
We've also said that the honesty has been bad strategy at various times, showing cards in circumstances A and B that.
And when asked about that, Jimmy has always said, it's not like the rest of the league doesn't know.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll say this. Honesty was rarely a problem below the ownership level. Like, the coaches have been pretty good, too. Like, Foot and Tocchet have been mostly honest.
Excellent. But at the managerial level, Benning was just out of his depth.
No, I mean in this regime.
Yeah. I'm just going back. Benning was out of his depth. Trevor liked to talk around things. Gillis was quite lawyerly.
You'll get what you get and you won't get upset.
Well, I mean, yeah. We have a super chat here on the topic of the Canucks GM search. Who is this from?
Basketball.
Oh, it's from Basketball Phil.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything about Cami Granato and what her status would be with the Canucks moving forward? Oh, and then he says, big boy lottery Sunday, guys. Yeah, the NBA, yeah, I hear you, Phil. Really good NBA draft, like one of the better NBA drafts in a long, long time, actually.
No, I think we're going to have to see where all the pieces fall. Now, she's on the scouting side of the AGMs, and we've said the amateur and pro scouting both have a lot of wins.
Yes.
So
the pro scouting, when it wasn't just I'm Jim Rutherford, and I know this guy from Pittsburgh, and let's do it. Now, I would quibble with some of the self-scouting, Pud Colson and others, but yeah, we've talked about Todd Harvey and the director of amateur scouting, and his group has done a very good job.
For the picks the Canucks have had, they're fine, and then for the pro pickups, especially the found wallets like Joshua and Sherwood and those kinds of pickups,
and that's Ryan. I think Ryan Johnson is a huge hand in that because oftentimes it was what those guys were doing at the American Hockey League level, and of course RJ has had purview over the AHL franchise. But that's all within the Cami Granato silo, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is Cami wants to work here, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not about ambition and work. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I don't know for sure. I would suspect if somebody offered Cami a GM's job, she would have to think of it. Of course, would be a trailblazing hire. But you also know that Cami and Ray and their family are settled here, that they want to be a part of the solution in this community in which they live.
And she would have ambition within this organization. But
I'd be very surprised if Emily Castengay is retained. There have been matters in that silo in the past. I mean, Rutherford basically saying we ran out of time. We wanted to circle back on Pius Suter, but we ran out of time, or there was a mix-up there. I forget how he phrased it, but it turned out to be a catastrophic error to not have Pius Suter, who did not exactly have a great season or anything.
No, it's true.
But he can play an NHL center, and you had nobody who could play an NHL center like a half dozen games into the season. So, and the contract he got was not outlandish from St. Louis. So I'd be surprised on Castengay. Cami, I'm not. I don't know. I think it's going to entirely depend on the appetite of the new hockey boss, whether or not they absolutely have to bring in their own people and are making wholesale changes, whether they're going to be a little more targeted or whether they're willing to adopt much of the staff and make whatever changes over time, like Gillis did. I mean, Gillis brought in Gilman and really not a whole lot else, right? They wanted to be able to evaluate the existing staff.
You better be bringing in somebody better to
Rutherford
displace.
Was wholesale changes, right? They got rid of Chris Gear. They got rid of Jonathan Wall. They brought in Castengay, Granato, Derek Clancy, you'll remember, and others to their front office.
But you better be pretty damn sure of the person you're bringing in because, as we said, not a lot of flies on the department, and you're displacing a Hall of Famer. So the PR spin is going to be a tough one if you don't bring in the unquestioned upgrade. It has to be an unquestioned upgrade, I think.
On
Granato.
Oh. Well, it's a Hall of Fame playing career.
I know. So it's just
not a Hall of Fame manager.
No, but it's,
Long way
again,
from that.
There's a PR spin there that will be noted.
Well, I don't know, Blake. There's been a lot of losing the last 4 years. I mean,
again,
I don't think there's a lot of people in the Canucks front office that on merit can sit there and say, oh, yeah, we've done such a fantastic job. It would be a criminal if the new person let us go. I'm not accepting that for a second. 3 of the 4 years were terrible.
Yeah.
This last year was horrific.
But are you firing Todd Harvey?
No, I've said before, Harvey's the guy I think I most want to keep.
That's all I'm saying.
Yep. What's up with Yellow Dog?
Beers on sale. This time of year, especially with the weather we've been having, you want to know about the beers on sale. The Chase My Tail, tall can, 4-packs on special for the entire month of May. You can look for it on sale at your private and government liquor stores.
Nils Höglander has withdrawn himself from consideration for Sweden's World Championship roster due to an injury. You may remember last week, Philip Roenick got most of the highlights because he got most of the discussion last week when he got hurt because the video was so extreme of
He
the
was
Slovakian
assaulted,
player
yes.
who just continues to cross-check him in the back of the head. But Höglander got hurt that day as well. And so he is out. Uffe Bodin, longtime Swedish hockey reporter on the story there. So it's just Linus Karlsson and Liam Ogren still vying for spots on the Trey Kroner's team to play at the World Championships.
Did we hear a Roenick update? Is he out for checks?
Well, the coach at first said it was serious, and then the
Yeah, they
GM
backed it
said
up.
they didn't think it was as serious. We'll see about Roenick. Later in the show, we asked Dave Hall of Canucks Army and the Blackfish pod, Prospects pod, on what Linus Karlsson and Liam Ogren have to gain. And you're going to want to hear that Linus Karlsson is occupying some very nice real estate in these pre-tournament games for Sweden. This simultaneously broke my heart and swelled my heart because I could absolutely see John Cheech Garrett doing this. And yet at the same time, I was just crestfallen for the Garrett family to see they were getting about this business. The tweet here is from Sportsnet producer Greg Shannon. Greg has been a longtime producer of Sportsnet regional games and worked very, very closely with John Garrett over the years. Fans were still sending Cheech hockey cards, playing cards for his signature. And the handwritten note there says, "Dear Corey," this is the fan who sent in the card. It says, "Dear Corey, it is with a heavy heart I am returning your card unsigned. He had a pile he was going to get to over the summer. All the best, Sarah." Brackets, John's daughter. First of all, amazing gesture, Sarah, to be doing that.
Sending
within
it
a
back,
week.
especially so soon.
I
Yes.
know.
My
I know.
goodness.
But could you not see it, man?
Oh, yeah.
Cards are coming in for Cheech still for him to sign. And I can only imagine, I can just imagine the smile on his face as he's signing those autographs. And maybe he looks over at Sharon and says, all these years later, they still want my autograph.
I could see him out on his deck,
Yep.
a couple of Coors Lights,
Yep,
and just
absolutely.
banging off a few cards.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We lost an amazing, amazing person last week. It can't be.
Quick follow-up
Can't
on
be said enough.
on Roenick. May 3rd, so that's 3 days ago. Roenick isn't flying to Sweden for this next round of exhibition games, but hopefully it'll be okay, they say. So, there you go.
We're going to get to our menu here in a second. A reminder, we've been telling you about the Nation Network series in collaboration with the CHL. Jeff Merrick here at the controls, Beyond the Crest. These are the episodes on junior hockey franchises across the country, including a couple here in our province, Penticton V's Kelowna Rockets, as well as the Everett Silvertips and Landon DuPont. So these episodes are coming out, hosted by Jeff Merrick. Junior hockey like you've never seen it before. Catch the first episode on the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. The first episode is on the Kitchener Rangers.
But what
Where
WHL
Canucks
teams
prospect,
to come?
Canucks prospect Gabe Sherratt is a member of the Kitchener Rangers, and they're in the OHL final. All right, let's get to our menu. It is brought to you by our friends at Greta. Fantastic spot to catch all the games, home and away. Do pregame or postgame because you are mere steps from the arena or stadium. And if you're looking for a venue for your next organized party, family reunion, team party, workplace outing, whatever the case may be, check out Greta. I mean, many of you were there yesterday for Canucks Conversation, David Quadrelli, Harmon Dial, and their draft lottery show. They have that private riser at the back, surrounded by screens. There's your own private bar there. There's an arcade throughout the premises at Greta. Fantastic street food. Check it on out. GretaBar.com to book your event. Get more info. Greta 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin. Stephen Ellis is the prospect analyst for the Daily Faceoff. Been a while since we talked to Stephen. He'll join. We'll talk about all the draft permutations for the Vancouver Canucks, including his thoughts on who they should take with that second first-round pick, the Minnesota selection, and the first pick at the top of the second round, 33 overall. Dave Hall, aforementioned, Canucks Army, Blackfish podcast, talking about the draft and also on the young Swedish wingers who are over there trying to win a job on their country's national team. Later in the program, more on the Whitecaps, both on the pitch and off, as well as some of the baseball, including some good news, bad news for the Jays on the injury file. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. I think we were both on futures last night, right? I'm on Buffalo here in Game 1 against the Habs. I'm going to lay a goal and a half. You were on a future last night as well?
I was on a future as well, yeah.
Okay, go ahead then.
I've got I had to delete all my cookies, so it is reverted to the...
You're deleting cookies. How are you doing it? How can I delete my cookies?
I'll show you how to do it. But
okay.
As a result, I've gone away from our, what is it called, American spread. So I'll break formula here.
Okay.
I don't think the Ducks are leaving Vegas down 2-0. I really don't. I know I went to the well the first time and got denied. I will not be denied this time. So 2.4 on the Ducks to take down the Golden Knights.
I'm going back on the Buffalo-Montreal game. Since I'm on Buffalo, I guess I'm picking some Sabres goals, right? Well,
that's plus 140, by the way. There you go. I changed my mind.
I absolutely love when Thompson and Tucker are on the ice, particularly when they're on the ice at the same time. Goodness gracious, do they just envelop the available space out there? There's sometimes they go to the tight shot, like ice level, and like Tuck and Thompson are in the frame, and nobody else is in the frame. They're just taking up all the space. Thompson's plus 145 as an anytime goal scorer. He's the lowest odds, so give me Alex Tuck to score here tonight, the Western New York guy in Western New York. First second-round game there in forever. Plus 190 for Tuck as an anytime goal scorer in Game 1 of the Sabres and Habs tonight. Look, Bet365. Every sports fan will tell you not all games created equal. Sometimes the excitement just isn't there. Sometimes you get a dud. It happens. But Bet365, boring games, thing of the past. Now, there's always a reason to tune in, even if the score isn't one of them. And while they can't make every game exciting, they can help you get excited about every game. Bet365. Download the app today. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Draft and prospect analyst Stephen Ellis coming up next. Secure some price from the historic Wall Center, and we've been telling you, the Nation Network, your ultimate playoff headquarters, from expert shows, deep dive articles, live social updates, analytics, fantasy insights, whether it's the epic goals, the big hits, the game-changing plays, the Daily Faceoff has you covered, covering every moment, one network, every moment. Tune into the DFO Rundown or the Sheet with our buddy Jeff Merrick on a daily basis for your playoff coverage. We have plenty on the draft and
it's too soon.
Canucks management.
It's too soon.
We'll get back into the playoffs in a day.
Talking
or two,
about real hockey is just too soon.
Yeah. We're going to talk about calling the names of 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
And helping us out with that is Stephen Ellis, speaking of the DFO, associate editor and prospect analyst for the Daily Faceoff, who joins us from his home studio. How are you? Good to see you. Thanks for the time, Stephen.
I'm probably feeling a bit better than you guys and all Vancouver is right now. But, hey, tanking was worth it. You're still getting a good pick, right?
The whole point was to raise the floor.
That's
they
right.
did that.
A lot of good players, Stephen, 1 through 7.
Yeah, it's the Homer Simpson. It's still good. It's still good.
Tell us what you said to us before we started here, because you were amongst the legions of hockey fans, I think, out there with a pity root for the Canucks last night.
I have a lot of friends that are Canucks fans that were so excited. I know a couple guys kind of outside of Toronto area that were having a big party with like 10 or 15 guys, and they were all just so excited for this. And all my text messages were like, just stay away from a bridge, man. I feel so bad. Yeah. This is terrible. It's just, I feel living in the Toronto area and seeing everybody here excited is one thing, but then it's like to be the team that doesn't get the first overall pick when they were dead last, and for the fan base having to watch this team this year to not get the guy everyone's been hearing about for 5 years now, Gavin McKenna, that's tough.
All right. Well, let's just start broadly then, because you cover the draft and you cover prospects day in, day out. Number 3 this year in terms of value. Kind of a player are the Canucks getting? How do you feel about the number 3 pick this year vis-a-vis other years?
Well, see, it gets really interesting because it's more about what does San Jose do? What does San Jose do at number 2? Do they trade their pick? Do they use it on Chase Reid, which I know some scouts think that Chase Reid is the best player in the draft, but others don't see him as a number 1 defenseman. So then if you're drafting him at number 2, you better hope he's a number 1 defenseman, right? Especially when you got a guy like Ivor Stenberg ready to go as your next pick. So that's where it gets interesting. Let's just say Stenberg's off the board number 2 if we're going best player available. Then you're looking at a guy like Caleb Malhotra, and family connections aside, that should not be something that you're drafting a player off of, especially someone you hope to be around for 20 years. But when it comes to Malhotra, like a guy that just flew up draft rankings this year, he was playing in the BCHL last year. Like, no way that we could have thought he'd put up the number of points. And then when they kept adding players to the trade deadline in the summer, and it was clear that Brantford was trying to go the distance this year, it really felt like it was only a matter of time until Malhotra kind of fell in the lineup. But he never did. He was actually the best player in the playoffs, 26 points in 15 games, 13 goals, like outstanding numbers. Again, the question, is he a number 1 center? Is he a number 2 center? I feel very confident saying he'll be at least a number 2 center. It's whether or not he could be the guy's long-term number 1, which, again, depending on what Vancouver's kind of future is, that's a big question there. But it's one where, like, if Malhotra's available number 3, given that, that second pick the Canucks are getting, you're probably not going to get a guy that's going to be maybe a top 6 guy. I'd say just take Malhotra at that point.
Yeah.
Then you're looking at like someone like Kim Berhoff or Chase Reid. Like it gets complicated, but like Malhotra, like you're going to be really happy if you take Caleb Malhotra.
Yeah, we just put up your mock draft there, and this published seconds after the lottery yesterday. Mike, if you can bring it back up, you've got McKenna going to the Leafs, you got Stenberg going to the Sharks, and then you have Malhotra going to the Canucks.
The existential question. Even if you believe in your gut as a scouting department, he's probably a second-line center. But you're pretty confident he's going to be a second-line center, as opposed to, other players that are like, oh, high ceiling but low floor, those sorts of players. If you're pretty confident this guy's going to be is that wrong to draft a second-line center at number 3?
Again, it's given it's Vancouver, and it's like, if Elias Pettersson's not number 1, we know Marco Rossi's not number 1, Teddy Bluger's not number 1, so this would be your closest to that. Even if you're looking at the next couple of years, I don't know if you're going to land a number 1 center of the draft. It feels like, at least in the short term, looking at the next couple of years, it feels like this is probably the closest you're going to get to the guy that could be deemed a number 1 center. That being said, he improved so much this year, where he was so dominant. Every showcase he played at, the OHL Top Prospects game, the CHL USA Prospects Challenge, against his peers, against other high-quality players, he was one of the best, if not the best player in all of those. That's something where you got to look at this and say, okay, legitimately, like, he could be a real difference maker.
Address the watered down OHL quotient of that, though. Like, people are saying, OHL is not what it was 2 years ago. That's why.
For sure. I would also say, like, hey, he outperformed guys like Jet Luchenko and guys that have been drafted in NHL experience in the OHL this year. And yeah, he played on a good team, but most nights he was the best player on the ice. And like the playoffs, that's where he really came alive. So yeah, I would say assuming he does still plan to go to college and that's still the plan, like that's something where he's going to go out there and I feel like still play a really big role. But I will also say, like, watching him play against a guy like Chase Reid, it's like you see Caleb Malhotra and just that two-way work ethic, and it's something that a lot of guys, including someone like of Chase Reid's caliber, have struggled to deal with. And I think you see a lot of those translatable skills. Like, it's one thing to put up a lot of numbers, but it's another to see the work ethic. Like, Malhotra is one of the harder working two-way guys you're going to find. He's going to go out there and win most of his battles. He's going to go out there and be very difficult to play against. I have a hard time kind of figuring out a proper comparable for him, but it does just feel like the floor is really high. And that's something where you got to be careful when it's a top 3 pick. That being said, this year's draft, I don't think is as strong as a lot of people were kind of hoping would be. I feel like a lot of guys fell down a bit more than push themselves up, but Malhotra was one of those guys that pushed himself up. And when he goes to college, assuming that is the route for him next season, there's going to be a long road for him to be able to go out there and get stronger, play against quicker competition. And if he proves himself, I think he's going to be totally fine.
Let's play out the scenario you laid out, Stephen. If San Jose takes Chase Reid number 2 and the Canucks are staring down the choice of Stenberg or Malhotra, where do you think they should go?
100% it's Ivar Stenberg at that point. A, Swedish players have looked pretty good for Vancouver. But B, more importantly, this is the guy who's the second best player in the draft. And a lot of scouts still think he could be the best player in the draft because he's so well-rounded. Like, that's the thing. When you look at McKenna, you see the hockey sense, you see the skating, and those are the two things he thrives in probably more than anybody in this draft. And I feel like he's going to be a guy that could put up somewhere in the 60 to 80 assists mark every year in the NHL. But then you look at Stenberg. He might not go out there and dominate offensively, but he's going to be so good at everything that you could play him on the power play. He's going to be great. He's a good playmaker. He's a good shooter. He can hit guys. We saw him in the World Juniors where, Anton Frundell was kind of the star of that Swedish team, but Stenberg outperformed him in many of those games. And he doesn't need to be super productive. Like, you look at McKenna, like something close to like double the points of what Stenberg did at the World Juniors. But I think the argument there was that Stenberg was a better all-around player. He was doing things at both ends of the ice that McKenna couldn't do. And I think that alone is something where you're looking at and say, like, that's a guy you could throw anywhere in the lineup and be very happy. Oh, he's also very skilled and will be a first-line player.
So, what are you thinking? If it pans out, 30 goals, 50 assists sort of thing? Is that what Stenberg is?
Yeah, like I don't think he's probably more than, a 75, 80 point guy, but he'd be a really good 75, 80 point guy that also can be very important in the playoffs because he's going to grind. He's got that work ethic you're looking for, and he brings the value away from the puck. Look at Macklin Celebrini. I'm not comparing him to Macklin Celebrini. They're not the same player. But when you look at a guy like Celebrini, obviously he can put up points, but he's also physical. He's also out. A lot of what he does is making sure the other team doesn't have the puck, and he's going to get the puck where it needs to be at all times. That's what Stenberg can do to a certain extent, which is making sure the other team doesn't have the puck, and that is still very important in the game of hockey.
You have Chase Reid as your number 3 prospect overall. Could the Canucks construct a case for Chase Reid over Caleb Malhotra?
Yeah, I think, this is one where when you look at best player available, I think there's a pretty strong argument that I would take Chase Reid just because he's this really big, strong defenseman, right-handed, he can do so many things, good two-way presence. But it was also, if he played on a more competitive team, the numbers would have been so much better. He was playing on a Sioux Greyhounds team that didn't have a lot going for it offensively. Brady Martin was the best player, and while Brady Martin is one of my favorite prospects, he's not a guy that's going to go put up 90 points in the NHL. This is a guy that's probably putting up 55, 60 and being really good as an agitator and just the hardest working guy out there. With Chase Reid, if he got to play with guys that could shoot the puck a bit more or be a bit more offensive minded, we were talking about someone who has more high end point offense. And I know from discussions I've had, and specifically I know Corey Pronman has been kind of vocal about a lot of scouts do see a potential for number 1 in Chase Reid there. And it really depends on if a team thinks he's a number 1 defenseman. At number 3, I feel like that's a very good pick, and I think you can make the argument either way. It's just if it's close, if they find it to be close, do you go where you need that positional need? And if that's the case, you pick Malhotra. That being said, don't necessarily love Vancouver's long-term future on the blue line, and after getting rid of Quinn Hughes, they got Z Bouillon, but they could probably use some more help. Someone like Chase Reid would be a really nice piece. So I think you could be happy with either of those picks. If they pick Chase Reid and they pick Caleb Malhotra, I don't think you're sad as a Canucks fan. I think you're looking and say, okay, it's a different perspective, different position. but still bringing extreme value to this team.
Marking Steven down as a non-Tom Verlander fan. Fine. Didn't mention him in the...
I like them.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Keaton Verhoff is fallen so far off the table that,
I think Steven, though, illustrates we sit here in Vancouver and we talk about the young defensemen and how, like, okay, they're good on the blue line going forward. I think Steven's right, though. Like, you always want to add there, you've got to make sure you have a solidified top four going forward. And I still think there are some questions about the Canucks.
I think about the Preds from years ago. The Preds from years ago, such a good blue line.
That's right. And just kept adding.
No, but what prevented them from going over the top? They did not have game breakers offensively.
Yeah, that's fair.
Keaton Verhoff is falling off the table for a lot of people. But a lot of people also say, wouldn't that be nice for the San Jose Sharks to get a little physicality, a bigger guy? Although Chase Reid's pretty big too, but doesn't necessarily play as big. Can Verhoff find a way back into that conversation at number 2? Do you think?
Well, I'll make one more point about Chase Reid. What's one position typically like to get at the draft? Big defenseman, right? Chase Reid is very strong, very skilled with the puck, and he's a right-handed guy. You can't have enough of those guys, but also drafting a player like that becomes a trade chip at some point. Do you think the Minnesota Wild thought they were going to be trading Zeev William at any point? And they did. So having a piece like that that's very valuable, even if it's not the number one positional need, is still a good trade chip, and you still need guys like that. Like the Blackhawks.
Great point.
If I have them picking Chase Reid, well, they also have Artem Levshunov and Sam Renzel. And from talking to people, they're like, the Blackhawks have some good talent, big guys on the right side. That doesn't mean they're not going to draft a big right-handed defenseman anyways and make maybe one of them expendable, which is also what plays into Keaton Verhoff because he's a big right-handed defenseman. This is a guy, in my opinion, with so much runway. 17 years old, going and playing in the WHL or the NCAA is very difficult. We saw McKenna, one of the most skilled prospects in years, struggle at points early in the season. For Verhoff to go out there and play 18 minutes a night on one of the top teams in the country, taking ice time away from older guys, more experienced guys, I thought was awesome. Great to see. Did he get exposed a little bit for his decision making and maybe his lack of super high end speed in the NCAA playoffs? Yes, 100%, no question about it. Should he have been better at the U18s? Yes. That being said, I still think there's a lot of upside of him as a puck mover. I think that he's got a lot of runway overall. Like, you watch the plays he was pulling off in the WHL, and he wasn't pulling them off in the NCAA. As you would expect, older, stronger competition. But I feel like he still adapted. He figured out kind of how to adapt his play. And if he goes back for a second year, which is what makes the most sense, I feel like he's going to be playing over 20 minutes a night, and he's going to feel more comfortable, not having to kind of prove to scouts what he's capable of. When he gets drafted, you hear a lot about these guys who can just finally relax. They don't have to think about it anymore, and they can play their game. And as a sophomore at college at 18 years old, I feel like that's something that's actually extremely intriguing. I know not every scout is 100% convinced about him, but I do see a lot of runway. Like, let's not forget, he's only been playing, he's been a skater for 6 years. He was a goalie before.
Yeah.
This is someone who has developed a lot in a quick time, and I still feel like there's a lot of runway. Like, he's younger than Chase Reid. He's younger than a lot of the other defensemen in this draft. Albert Smits, for example. Like, that's something where I think could actually play into its advantage. Could he go number 3? If Chase Reid's on the board, I don't know. I think pretty much every scout I've talked to still has Chase Reid ahead of him.
Yeah.
So if that's the situation, I don't think it happens, but I think he's like, I got him at number 5 in the mock draft for the New York Rangers. A lot of people have him lower. I still really believe in him.
We want to talk about that second Canucks first round pick, the Minnesota Wild Indigenous selection, and play. We still don't know where it is. And of course, if Minnesota advances the conference finals, it will be even later. Oddity about this year's draft, because of the penalty and then the reinstatement of the Senators pick, Ottawa will pick 32nd. So the Cup champion will pick 31, the finalists will pick 30, and then the conference finalists will go 29 and 28. So it could be as low as 29, 28 if they make the conference final, or even lower if they make the Cup final. But assuming it's in the mid-20s, Stephen, who do you like there for the Canucks?
Well, so one name I'd be looking at is a guy that probably won't get a ton of buzz because he's not super flashy, but that's Alexander Command. And he's from Sweden, plays Örebro in the Swedish U20 league. He's a smart solid two-way center. And that's something that Sweden's done really well the last couple of years, is developing these guys that are going to have good NHL careers, probably not in prominent roles, but are going to be good NHL players. And that's what you're looking for with him, where he can contribute offensively. He wins a ton of faceoffs. He had a really good U18 tournament. Sweden just won the gold medal in a tournament that they also lost 9-1 in to the United States, who got knocked out of the quarterfinals. Weird tournament, I know. But, I think we're talking about probably more of a third line guy, but like a good third liner who's reliable, could kill penalties, and also can play on the power play. He did show that he can be kind of a really good setup guy there. JP Hurlburt out of the Kamloops Blazers, left the U.S. National Team Development Program, went to the WHL, set the league on fire, was unstoppable. His numbers kind of slowed down a little bit at the end of the year, but always bet high on skill, and this is a guy that plays with a ton of skill. Is he a good enough skater? That's, I think, a big question, but I still like him. Mathis Preston, Vancouver Giants. Obviously, some Vancouver fans will be able to see him up close. Got traded midseason, got injured, just didn't look himself. Went to the U18s and was probably Canada's best player most nights. I really liked his game. Shows a lot of skill. Always shows up in big moments. He needs to be surrounded by other good players. Could they pick a Liam Ruck or Marcus Ruck? The twins, that'd be pretty fun. Obviously for Vancouver, that'd be pretty cool. But one other name I'll mention is, if you actually want to go and get a defenseman around this point, look out for William Hackinson. He's 6'4", 207 pounds. And I think he could probably beat up Zdeno Chara of one hand. It feels like he's actually one of the more physical guys you're going to find in this draft. Decent penalty kill. Very little concern about his D-zone play. He just does nothing with the puck. That's kind of his problem.
Yeah.
He's just he might get just 6 points in a year.
Yeah, I saw him, and he gobbled up space and defenders at the World Juniors like it was going out of style. You're a big ruck guy. Liam at 14, Marcus at 18. Like, we're sitting here daring to dream maybe the Canucks could get the two British Columbia twins at 20 whatever, and then 33, the first pick in the second round, but not according to Stephen Ellis. You got a much higher than that.
I view them higher, I think, than some other people do. My mock draft does not have Marcus going in the first round. So there is the possibility. And I do believe Liam Ruck will probably, just from a lot of people think he's going to go in the 20 to 25 range. And that's, if Minnesota gets knocked out by Colorado, that's good news for Canucks fans. So I think it actually is a very good possibility they can land the two of them. If you pick Malhotra and then you pick the two Ruck twins, it's going to be absolutely.
We will forget about May 5th for the rest of our lives if that is the case, Stephen.
I would say that probably would not be true. You're still going to miss Gavin Kemp, but you're going to be pretty happy anyways. Like, the Ruck twins are a lot of fun, and they probably, I was hoping for a bit more from them in the WHL playoffs, but they were still very good. And I think that's something where you just got to look at it and say, they're smart. They need to both add a bit more speed to their game, but they've got a really good base right now.
I feel like the Q has turned into this lost frontier that we don't explore a ton anymore. Let me throw Xavier Villeneuve and Maddox Dagenet your way. I've seen Villeneuve all over the first round. Dagenet more would be the later first round picks for the Canucks.
He's the big center we should mention, Maddox Dagenet.
What are your thoughts on those two names in particular?
So I actually, Maddox's dad, Pierre, was one of my favorite players growing up. Very random because he didn't play a ton of games in the NHL. But when I found out he got drafted twice by the same team, I thought that was so weird. Drafted in like the second round, I think, 1 year in New Jersey. I think it was like the third or fourth round, like 2 years later. It's like,
no, we really like you.
It's like, but they didn't like him enough, like, by the May or June 1st signing window or whatever it was. It was like, what a weird situation that was. But yeah, so he's a completely different player than his dad. He is a human wrecking ball. He does like to do reverse hits like it's his life, and he's maybe not the fastest guy and probably is a third line player, but he's a guy that's going to go out there and be difficult to play against. You can kill penalties. You can rely on him late in games. He does have a good shot. I just kind of wish he would use it in better locations. There's a lot of times he shoots at like the goal line off of a weird angle. I'm like, no goalie's letting that in unless it's Tristan Jarry. And then when you look at Xavier Villeneuve, small defenseman, but outstanding numbers. year after year. He got injured this year, was probably going to get a boatload more points. Like, he was going to be one of the more productive guys out of the queue. Yeah, he's small, but every time he plays against other players in this draft class, it doesn't seem to bother him too much. So we'll see what he can do at the next level, but teams are becoming a lot more open to smaller defenders who just control the puck at all times. Like, you look at Lane Hudson, you look at Quinn Hudson, then you go out there and look at someone like Luca Cagnoni. He's playing the WHL. He's a San Jose Sharks prospect. Outstanding numbers in the AHL and pretty good little start to his NHL career. I think he's like 5'8", but he goes out there and just owns the puck the whole time he's on the ice, doesn't give the puck away. If you could do that, and that's what Xavier Villeneuve does, you're going to be fine.
I don't understand Maddox Deschanel. He's got a Dub first name and a Q last name.
It's true.
How are you Maddox and playing in the Q and not the Dub?
WQHL, yes.
Like, honestly, he should be from somewhere in northern Franco, Ontario, to make sense. You're Maddox, you're Deschanel.
We're starting to get in the OHL draft. I'm trying to think of who would be a good example, but we're starting to get kind of the Dub names now.
Okay. All right.
It's moving east.
Hey, the trends always move west.
Yeah. Like
west
Lachlan,
to east.
Lachlan.
That's like 10 years ago, Dub.
Yeah, we
You're
know
going to
so
get a bunch
many
of Dylans first.
I was drinking with a Lachlan last night, as a matter of fact, here in Vancouver.
Yeah,
wait till you start to get X's and Q's in your name.
Exactly.
Then you can call
Exactly.
us.
Yeah.
There's
Jackson with an X.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a Finley. There's a Kane. There's these are names that we aren't used to seeing. A lot of Bens, a lot of Max, a lot of Connors, Connors out here.
Yeah.
We're starting to finally get those names.
That's late developing.
Still,
my favorite name actually this year's OHL draft is AJ Foyt the fifth, because I'm a big racing fan.
Oh wow, yeah.
So
I was gonna say, all those names still a little too waspy and not quite enough hippie VW van. Okay, like when you start getting names that look like they were emanating from a conception in a VW van on the beach, that's when you'll have made it as a first name league. Stephen, this was great fun. Thank you for the insights, and needless to say, we'll be calling on you before June 26.
Thanks so much, guys.
Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center. We're joined now by Canucks prospect writer at Canucks Army and, of course, one of the two hosts of the Blackfish Prospects podcast that goes every Wednesday here on the Nation Network. You can find it on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. It began a few weeks ago. Tyson Cole and our next guest, Mr. Dave Hall. How are you? And it was great to see you live and in the flesh last night.
Yeah, absolutely. I took the ferry ride over and got to enjoy the big city for the night. And unfortunately, it was all for naught, and it was a big, giant letdown. Pretty much 2 minutes in, but it is what it is.
And he got some swag. That's a new Canucks Army hoodie that he is wearing there. I have it on good authority.
That's a really good acting job. Yeah, it was too bad it was all for naught. If they picked first overall, there would be no point to the Blackfish show.
It's a good point.
Now that they're picking third, there is ultra debate. There is so much analysis needed. This is your raison d'etre here, third overall.
You're right. As soon as it went down, me and my co-host Tyson Cole, we looked at each other, and already the wheels were spinning on trade down targets, trade up targets. Yeah.
So congratulations on the Canucks finishing.
Right. Okay, so let's address the bad news, and then we'll move on to sunnier days. Dave, what are they losing out on? What are they missing out here by not winning one of those lotteries and picking first or second?
Well, I think right off the bat, I think the instant one is the loss of Gavin McKenna. I think that's, the one thing we've learned about this draft is there's no consensus pretty much the entire draft. But one consensus is that Gavin, if he doesn't go one, he's going to go two. I mean, even if there's a lot of talk right now that Ivor Stenberg could go maybe to the Toronto Maple Leafs, but as much as I like to think that the San Jose might go a different route than a forward, I just don't think I don't think two teams can pass up on Gavin McKenna here. So I think that's the one loss. But other than that, I think, the window is wide open for a whole plethora of options here. So I think the one thing that Canucks can rest assured is that they're going to lose out on Gavin McKenna. But
okay. Again, sunny days here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We were having a conversation in studio last night, Dave. Bus factor is a thing with Gavin McKenna. at first overall. This isn't Macklin Celebrini. This isn't Connor McDavid or Austin Matthews. Talk to me about Gavin McKenna as a potential bust at first overall.
Yeah, I mean, now that he's not going to the Vancouver Canucks, I guess that's what we're all going for, right? But I mean, we've talked about it all year. Is that he does have some defensive perimeter warts to his game. He alleviated a lot of those questions. Especially his power play utilization in the second half. He obviously exploded, and there was a little bit more engagement in his game in that second half. So for a guy like me who was pretty much team Ivor Stenberg for most of the season, eventually it was around April where I finally, looked at all the tape and just, threw my hands up and just said, okay, fine. It's Gavin. Don't big brain. It's just big. It's Gavin. But, that being said, there still is, especially in a place like Toronto where they just got rid of a Mitch Marner, who, I like to think of, I always thought of Gavin McKenna as more of a Patrick Kane, but he plays a similar style to Mitch Marner with a little less defensive acumen than Mitch Marner doesn't kill the penalties like Mitch Marner. So, there is a real risk. There's a super high reward to a 100-point plus player, but there still is a risk of, he does have some shifts where he does a lot of flybys. There is a little bit of, in my article, I related it to like a beer league flyby. He just likes to give up on some plays. So there's definitely some warts in his game, but overall, I mean, he was always the number one in my eyes, only because the swing and the upside is just too far there, not to take at first overall. So
I had come to peace. After doubting Stenberg and McKenna for a moment, I'd come to peace. They are the best two.
Yeah.
They'll go 1-2, regardless of who won the draft lottery. But now that San Jose's in that second spot, I do have doubt now about what San Jose ultimately wants. And Chase Reid's got a lot of helium as well. Reid and Malhotra are nibbling at the edges there. They don't need Malhotra. They will not be picking him. But they might pick Chase Reid, and then the chaos ensues, doesn't it?
It's like the one ray of hope that Vancouver Canucks fans can enjoy out of this result. And, Tyson and I have talked about it on Blackfish almost every single episode, because we always did a tankathon to finish up the episode, and the Canucks never won. And San Jose jumped up a few times. And we've talked about it, that if there's any team that you want them to jump up, it's probably San Jose. If you look at their lineup, I mean, do they need another forward? Like as you mentioned, they definitely don't need another centerman. So, do you just not overthink it and take Stenberg? Probably. But at the same time, aside from a Sam Dickinson, Shakir McMadoulin, Luca Cagnoni, who's a really fun player, but I believe 5'9" defenseman, they don't really have a lot in the pipeline. So if you're asking me, Chase Reid, who is my next pretty much best player available past Ivor Stenberg, that's an intriguing option. But even maybe a Carson Carroll's. But I think the right hand shot, to complement the Sam Dickinson with the San Jose, it's by far the most intriguing team option that the Canucks fans could have hoped for. So I fully agree that I definitely think Ivor Stenberg falling to number 3 is not only very much on the table, but maybe a probability. At this point, it just seems like Chase Reid, if he's not the best player available, he's not far off from Ivor Stenberg. That's the one, as I already mentioned about this draft, there's not much consensus, and there's a big tier of, let's say, 2 to 7, and both those players fall right in that tier.
And to answer our poll question, you're a clear Stenberg over Malhotra if both are available for the Canucks at number 3.
Yeah, for me, There's not much drama. I've watched enough Ivor Stenberg, even as early as last week. I know it's just a, pre-tournament exhibition, but he's still playing against men at the pre-World Championship tournament. He's playing top line minutes. He led the team in scoring. He's just a beast on the wall. He's so far above, in my opinion. Just in my mind, he's just the easy pick.
Yep, I got you. Okay. Dave Hall, you're a smart prospects guy who watches film on all these guys, not just highlights. And I will concede, I see mostly highlights, and anybody can look good on a highlight tape. But I'm going to pose a theory to you. You tell me if I'm totally out to lunch.
Okay.
We've talked about the McKenna bust factor, right?
Yeah.
Soft perimeter winger. Stenberg, heck of a player, warms your heart just about every shift, but it's pure winger.
And a super high floor, but not the highest ceiling.
There you go. Kind of same thing with Caleb Malhotra. looks like an excellent centerman, but probably a two-hole centerman, lacking a little bit of either the standout athletic tool or just the extreme offensive upside of a number one center in the NHL. Chase Reid, as a big, mobile, skilled, right-shot defenseman, is not only the scarcest commodity of the four, but the biggest championship piece of the four. One can see Chase Reid playing a outsized role on a Stanley Cup contender easier than seeing Stenberg, McKenna, or Malhotra being an outsized contributor on a Stanley Cup contender. Fair or unfair?
Oh, that's a loaded one. I mean, it's a good question. I mean, for me with Chase Reid, like the reason why, again, almost like I did with Gavin and Ivor around April, it's just for me, I finally had to just pick because Carson Carroll's has really shot up the ranks for me. All these players, but for me, Chase Reid, I know a lot of people talk about the fact that 48 points in 43 games. He doesn't come nowhere near the other two, Daxon Rudolph or even Carson Carroll's in the point production. But for me, Chase Reid, he, as you mentioned with the skating, he's got this dynamic skating ability. You can see it from when he starts behind his net that he has the vision and he has the know about to and the want to not only move the puck up the ice but also carry it. And he's also like the first man in on the chip and chase. Like he's got all these abilities, and then when he grabs it behind the net, he can calculate the play from the back end more so than any of the other defensemen in my eyes can do. He's one of the only, in my eyes, he's the only defenseman in this class that I think carries true number one defenseman traits. That's going to run your top power play. He's going to be your top line guy. I think the other three, I'd say, could be top line guys. I just don't know if they're going to be your top PP, just top everything guy. Whereas Chase Reid, I think he has the ability to be your top line guy. Maybe not your Quinn Hughes, Cale Makar, but your Adam Fox, your second tier top line guy. And so for me, I'm not sold that the other defensemen can do that. So for me, that's the only reason why I have Chase Reid above them, is because I do think he's going to be that guy. And I do agree that with Caleb Malhotra, as much as I love the player, and I'm not going to sit here and be upset if it ends up being Caleb Malhotra that goes to the Vancouver Canucks. I do wonder if he has that ability to be, as you mentioned, that 1C, or if he's a little bit of a beneficiary of the environment. Like, that's not to take anything away from him, but for me, it's Chase Reid is the easy pick at 3.
Are you guys telling me that Malhotra cannot be Ryan Nugent-Hopkins or Nico Hischier?
I mean, I think Nugent Hopkins, I think, is a nice one. I do like that, and I do think
those are first overalls. Those are
but those are number one centermen on a championship contender.
No, but I'm saying, are you disappointed? Like, this is going to be 1,000-point players,
and this is why this draft is so tough, because I sit here and I say I want this player, but I really mean it when I say I'm honestly not going to be upset if it is Caleb Malhotra. Like I see the argument, and I see the benefits to having him. For me, a top 3 pick. I just like, he's a guy. For me, he's going to be probably better than a Braden Coots, but a player like Braden Coots falls at 15th overall. Whereas, with Caleb Malhotra, I really like the player, and if we're talking 7th overall, even 5th overall, I might not have nowhere near as much of a gripe. It's just that 3rd overall. Are you okay with a 2C at third overall? I don't know. And with Chase Reid, I do find that there is the upside of being a number one defenseman. And so that's, go ahead.
Sorry,
that's
finish
my
off.
argument.
Yeah, no, and I'm 100% with you. I'm 100% with you. Dave, Rangers at 5 with an additional first round pick. Calgary at 6 with an additional first round pick. Seattle at 7 with an additional first round pick. Should the Canucks have any appetite to trade down from 3 into one of those slots?
Whoever the new GM is announced to the Vancouver Canucks, hopefully this week, who knows, their first call should be to San Jose. Their second call should be their second, third, fourth, fifth call should be to all of those teams right behind. I am always just, if you're picking 3rd overall, you just take that player. I'm typically just go for it. This year is just that 1 year, as we've already talked about often, just with this tier. I don't know if you're going to, I do like the argument for Caleb Malhotra. So while I do think Chase Reid is the guy, maybe you can get Caleb Malhotra at that 5-6 and, recoup. My big issue with the draft is that do any of these players really move the needle enough for some of these teams? What one team I do find interesting, and it's unfortunate because it falls just outside of the tier, but I look at Seattle Kraken, a team that's desperate to make a splash. If they don't like Caleb Malhotra, maybe they want to chase Reid, like, Riker Evans, Tyson Jugnaut, like they don't have a ton of defensive stars up and coming. Maybe they're a team that really wants to make a splash and they know they're not going to get Chase Reid. So you move back to 7, pick up a Vigo Bjork, and then get, I believe they had in the 20s. Now you got 2 picks in the 20s, 7th overall. Vigo Bjork is definitely a name I would trade back to get. Like he's a guy in my rankings I have higher than Caleb Malhotra. Only by a hair, but
why are you calling San Jose? You said my first call is to San Jose. Why are you calling San Jose?
Because new GM wants to make a splash. They know that they want this whole fan base they need a forward, and so
right.
Even maybe San Jose's taken defense that whole time, but at the same time, you look at them and say, look, we're trying to make a splash here. We have 3rd overall. We're willing to give you that one, as well as we'll give you your pick back in the 2nd round. And we'll move up 1 spot and take Ivor Stenberg. I think with a player like Ivor Stenberg, I do think he's worth that.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure it would cost you that much. Like if San Jose's heart is set on Chase Reid and they go, okay, well, just pick up an extra 3rd here and move back a spot.
Can you workshop this for me, though? Let's say San Jose picks a defenseman. Stenberg's on your plate if you want it. He is a winger.
Yeah.
The teams that have draft equity in the first round beyond their first pick, like the Rangers and others, like, isn't that the time too where you say to them, guys, here's that guy everybody's crazy about, Stenberg. Here he is.
Yep.
And then you go and then you draft Vigo Bjork.
Yeah.
And you get an extra pick. And I bet you get something else too, to be honest.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Like Stenberg's a great player, but he is a winger. Stenberg's a great player, but he is a winger.
But at the same time, he could be a point per game, 90-point winger. And, I think the one thing that everyone's got to get in their head, which I know you all guys obviously know, this isn't we're fixing everything this year. And so, you're not it's not hard. It's not easy to find an Ivor Stenberg. And so, you don't get the center you like, but there is some nice options at 24 if they pick 24, and there's some nice options at 33 when they pick 33. Like there are some center swings that you could take. Heck, they could even move up to take a center in the mid parts of the draft, or the first round. So I just think there are options, and I don't know if your Caleb Malhotras of the world are a high enough swing to be worrying about that when you could take just a little bit less at later in the first.
There are 3 MVP level wingers in the league, in my opinion, though. There are 3. Yeah. Kaprizov, Kucherov, and Pasternak. Like, the chances that Stenberg is one of those 3 guys, pretty low. Like,
no, but here's the thing. Here's the other thing, and just to feel like we're playing tennis here a little bit, Dave, I volley one back into the corner for you. But one of those 3 guys is the Stanley Cup champion, and he did it as the 2nd, 3rd banana on the team with Vasilevsky and Hedman. I realize he puts up crazy points, and it is our Ross candidate every year.
That seems slander to say he's...
Well, I mean, Vasilevsky is arguably the greatest postseason goalie. Until his recent struggles here, we were hearing that about Vasilevsky, right? Hedman is the huge, mobile, everything number 1 defenseman. I don't mean to slander Nikita Kucherov, but if I'm starting a team tomorrow, I think I'm taking Victor Hedman in his prime over the other 2 guys in his prime from the Tampa dynasty, and including Stamkos.
There's a lot of permutations to this. There really is.
Let's
and
move
this
on.
is why you don't have to apologize about playing tennis, because this is what we wanted. As you said from the top, this is what we want. We want that tennis, right? So
yeah. The doubt.
Yeah.
The discussion.
Nils Höglander is going to miss the Worlds. He got injured for Sweden in pre-tournament games. So it's down to Linus Karlsson and Liam Ogren of the Canucks wingers who are vying to make this club. What do they stand to benefit? Like, what do you think Ogren and Karlsson could get out of playing with the Trey Kroner at the Worlds?
Well, Karlsson's been getting a really good shot right out the gate. Viggo Bjork and Ivar Stenberg on the top line with Linus Karlsson. And, he's looked pretty good. He's looked just like he has at Canucks, just a nice complementary piece. And so for him, I just think, especially for a guy like Linus Karlsson, I just think it's another avenue for him to, up his stock and just show that he's a formidable player, like ready to play NHL games. And, this was a big year for him where he finally took that big step after, years and years of grinding away at the AHL level. And I just think it's one more just plateau for him to just showcase himself on a good level. And so far he's been given a chance to do that. So, I do anticipate he probably drops a bit once the actual tournament comes, and he probably rounds out to that third line, fourth line grinder style that he always is. But he's proven that he's able to carve out a role here, and he can put up some nice secondary scoring here. And for Liam Ogren, like, he's a player that has stood out for me big time. He was a guy, like, when they first made that, the Vancouver Canucks made that Quinn Hughes trade, like, he was a guy that I was standing here, beating the drum, like, don't consider Liam Ogren just a toss in. Like, this kid, back in the draft, I went back in my notes and my tweets and all that stuff, and he's the guy I wanted the Canucks to take over the Jonathan Lekkerimäkis and Noah Uslands back then. So, he's a guy that I've had high on my radar, and for him, it's just like Linus Karlsson, it's an opportunity to showcase. He's got 2 goals and 2 assists, I believe, in the games he played last week in the tournament, and I just think he's probably going to. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes up to a top 6 role with Sweden.
And shows his high end a little bit, right? Playing it with a good quality of a player.
Lastly, Dave, you and Tyson were back at it on Blackfish. Busy recording last night. Episode is out today. Tell us, give us a preview.
Yeah, we're calling it episode, 5.5, 6. I guess it's technically episode 6, but it was just, our instant reaction. We, pretty much how we talked today. We juggled back and forth some options, talked a lot of San Jose, and just, how, whether that's a trade option or whether they're taking D. But yeah, we just talked post draft lottery where the Canucks dropped, or I guess at this point, is it even a drop? It was 55% chance. We all knew it was coming.
That's right.
Yeah. But so just post draft, we dropped our top 16 rankings yesterday. So you can go check that out. So 2 episodes in 2 days. So.
Before you go, any concern that the Canucks don't have the GM that's going to be making this pick assigned just yet, and maybe another week before he gets to actually immerse themselves in the draft books of this team?
I mean, it's not ideal for me. I mean, luckily, we're in May, all the legwork is done, but at the same time, it's funny. We hear all last week, Michael McCarron, the Canucks are going to be aggressively approaching them, but it's just like, who is making that call? How do we know that? Like, we don't even know who's making the call. So for me, like, it comes with the draft as well, where, like, yes, the legwork is done. The scouting staff know who they want, but we just don't have any direction or vision on where this is going. So, this is where the trade talks come in. Like, they need to make those calls, and who's making those calls. So for me, I mean, I'm not pushing the panic button yet. I would love to see it before the, let's call it 15th deadline. But, they need at least, 5 to 6 weeks to get these things prepped, in my opinion, and, get the vision going and, figure out, collectively sit down and figure out who it is. So, I'm not pushing the panic button, but it's definitely not ideal.
You guys both know where that McCarron love is coming from.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave. We'll be watching and listening to the Blackfish podcast with Dave Hall and Tyson Cole every Wednesday here on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. My friend, great to see you again last night live in the flesh. Thank you for the hit here tonight. Looking forward to chatting more, Dave, around the draft and prospects.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Sick Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center in the Nation Network studio built by Arbor Lee. Cheer harder when you're well rested. Sheraton Vancouver Wall Center puts you minutes from the arena, miles ahead the next morning. Lock in your game day stay at wallcenter.com. Vancouver Whitecaps FC CEO and sporting director Axel Schuster is meeting with the media on Wednesday. Now, I saw a lot of panic yesterday from Whitecaps supporters. Oh, in the shadow of the Canucks and draft lottery, they're going to sit there and announce a sale or a relocation of the team. No. We were told this is happening, this media round. There's no announcement here from
It's not a
Caps.
press conference.
It's not a press conference.
It's a chitty chat.
It's a media roundtable. We understand the Caps organized this because there was a lot of media requests for comment on the events of last week, and so Axel Schuster is sitting down to chit-chat with the assembled media. Has he said anything of significant consequence? I saw he's meeting with a big MLS official next week or something like that.
Yeah, the main brass is coming back into town. But no,
Garber? Does that mean Garber?
Garber said he was coming back, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
What we're seeing is the media's the media and politicians are a little bit of the gas pedal. The club is a little bit of the brakes right now in terms of optimism, because it benefits the club to continue to put the
Wait,
gears.
in terms of optimism?
Yes, in terms of optimism, yeah. The club is being very pragmatic. They are not painting this as progression in any way, shape, or form, because
that's not a good sign.
Well, I think it makes a lot of sense, though. You do not want the fervor to die down. You want the desperation and the need to continue at a high level to get this across the finish line. It's way better. The politicians, they're always wanting to, we're doing something. It's happened. They want to paint the optimistic light. Mm-hmm. But for the club, they still want to say, until it's across the finish line, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. And then they can turn at the last second if it does look good. But no, to me, it's more of the same. They talk about how the business side of things needs to change. What it sounded like, the one thing that's kind of new is more of a call for businesses to invest in the Whitecaps, not in a ownership stake. I just mean in the day-to-day revenue sort of thing, saying that the club needs more out of match days, more in-venue partnerships, more business partnerships, that sort of thing.
That's on the club, though. You're the operator. Like, that's your agency. You're controlled. Do a better job.
Well, yes and no. You're right. That's the purview of the club. But you can lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink. If the businesses don't want to sign on the dotted line to be a partner,
well, maybe you're pricing them too high.
Well, others have said the opposite. Like, raise ticket prices. Like, why don't you raise ticket prices? Tickets are up 25% this year.
Yeah.
Ticket sales are up 25%. Season tickets holders jumped by 3,400 for the 2026 season.
To be clear, I've got a lot of time for the Whitecaps argument about BC Place. Because I don't believe BC Place is sufficiently run. I don't believe PAFCO and the government should be running BC Place. And if the Whitecaps want to run BC Place, did he say anything about that? Have they put anything on paper?
From what I can see, I don't have
that's
any
the canary in the mine shaft. If they're not putting a written proposal in front of the provincial government to run BC Place, as Don Garber suggested they wanted to do late last year, then the deal is done here and they're on their way out of town. Like, that is something the Whitecaps need to absolutely address, and in a big public way.
Here we go. Axel on a new BC Place deal, quote, won't solve the situation alone. Stresses the club is not looking for handouts, but they, quote, need significant improvements in all categories of revenue and expenditure.
But we knew that. Yeah. We were beyond that, Axel. The question is, if you run BC Place, can you make it a financial go? Not if you get a better lease. We understand that. We've known that forever. Anyways, I have a lot of time for the Whitecaps argument there. What I don't have a lot of time for is whining about a lack of local sponsorships. That's on you as operator. There was this from Peter Millibar, who's the conservative MLA for Kamloops Center, and it looks like he is trying to separate his party from David Eby and the NDP on the Whitecaps file, tweeting, "The The NDP has no clear plan to save the Whitecaps, and they aren't being transparent about their intentions. The government needs to negotiate in good faith to reach a fair deal, one that works for both the province and the team and makes economic sense. My message to the Whitecaps ownership is simple. Hold on a little longer. Conservatives will win the next election, and we'll sit down and get a deal done. Well, easier said than done on a number of files there, Peter. The next election is not scheduled till October 2028. Now, of course, EB's facing some caucus unrest. We could see a election a lot sooner than that, but that election would have to come awfully soon, and the Conservatives would have to win it, form government, and frankly, majority government too, right? Because you'd be susceptible if people didn't like your Whitecaps deal in a minority government. Anyways,
it was.
I'm not holding my breath on that one.
I mean, you shouldn't hold your breath on anything. But I mean, the noise is only getting louder. Fan bases around Major League Soccer were chanting "Save the Caps!"
Yes,
across the Apple streams across the league.
They sure were.
So,
and I think it's genuine. I think it's more than just, they're fans, we're fans, let's support them. I think there's a deep recognition around MLS markets that our city is a great MLS market, a great soccer town. Not to mention a fantastic place to come watch a match, like especially in the summer. Come do a vacation from Columbus or Cincinnati or Kansas City and you're a staunch soccer supporter. Come on up, do a vacation here and catch your team playing the Whitecaps.
Well,
so I get it.
Every team that's not in a town named Philadelphia, New York, Miami, and LA is also looking at themselves going, well, how
if
safe
it
is
can
our
happen
club?
there. Yeah. On the pitch, huge game Saturday in San Jose. And MLS says when the Earthquakes and Whitecaps face off here, it'll mark the most combined points per game between two clubs after at least 10 games into the season. The Caps and Earthquakes combined are averaging 2.52 out of 3 standings points every time they take the pitch. The last 5 times you've had matchups like this, the Supporters' Shield winner has played in every single one of them. The most recent occurrence was a couple of years ago. FC Cincinnati destroyed Inter Miami and went on to win the Supporters' Shield. Earthquakes, of course, the only team to keep the Whitecaps off the score sheet this season. They got a 1-0 victory against the Caps on March 21st. Thomas Muller and Caicedo have been sick this week, although they should be good to go. Ranko Veselinovic still hasn't played despite being available for selection the last 2 matches. Sam Adekugbe has suffered a setback. Jesper Sorensen, quote, he had a little bit in his quad that he felt. He's been out for so long that we also have to be a little bit cautious. And then Harjo Hall of the Daily Hive reporting Ralph Priso remains ahead of schedule. That's fantastic. Worked on his own. Did a few shooting drills. Ryan Gauld's still just partial training, Blake.
Oh, he's not back before the World Cup, for sure. And then, I mean, Whitecaps 2, I haven't checked to see what their schedule is like, but if there's Whitecaps 2 matches to be had, maybe you could ramp him up while the MLS is stopped. But yeah, I'm very concerned about Ryan Gauld ever playing a game again. Veselinovic is an interesting one for this weekend because he's clearly absolutely 100% ready to go.
Not a full 90, but
yeah, like he's not. Maybe he doesn't have his 90-minute fitness, but he's ready to play. The question is, do you put him into the biggest game of the year as his first game? Like, I don't know. Everybody,
he's been a very good player for a long time, and a good head on his shoulders,
timing
too.
And all that sort of stuff. Like he's.
And you feel pretty good about your center backs.
Yes,
Blackman and Laborda
have
been quite good.
Yeah.
Mixture of good and bad news for the Jays on the injury front. Former Vancouver Canadian Addison Barger expected to be activated Friday. John Schneider acknowledged a difficult decision on who to send down, in part because of the play of rookie outfielder Yohendrick Pinango. I learned today it's not Pinango, Pinango. He's been outstanding in terms of hitting the ball and getting on base. David Schneider does still have options to be sent down. We'll see where the Jays decide to go there. Shane Bieber threw a bullpen session at Tropicana Field today. We talked about this yesterday. The Jays spring training complex just up the road in Dunedin. So when they go down to play Tampa Bay, those major leaguers who are rehabbing, we saw Barger in the dugout the other day, can make the drive down to Tropicana and do so before major league guys, not just the minor league staff. So he threw a bullpen at Tropicana. He remains on schedule along the comeback trail. Bad news, Jose Barrios underwent another MRI after not feeling great coming out of a rehab start, and Max Scherzer says his injured forearm isn't responding to treatment.
His ankle's feeling better, but
yeah.
And they'll find out about Barrios on Friday, and they will reveal to the public on Friday what had happened.
Until then, Eric Lauer continues to be a starting pitcher for the Jays. They try to avoid the sweep in Tampa today. Mariners get another 2-run home run from shortstop J.P. Crawford. That's his second in as many days. They fall to Atlanta. They played the rubber match today. And Vancouver Canadians off today, resume their series in Eugene tomorrow with Johnny King on the mound. A nice little tribute here to former shortstop Arjun Nimala. He got a hit in his first Double-A game yesterday. The C's sent him off with some love, posting photos of Arjun and his teammates over his year-plus here in Vancouver. Next homestand begins Tuesday at historic Nat Bailey Stadium, celebrating 75 years. 6 against the Everett Aqua Sox. That's the Seattle Mariners Farm Club. So M's fans, if you want to go see some of the future at T-Mobile, head on down to the Nat next week. Of course, 75-cent hot dogs on Tuesdays with a Capilano's pennant giveaway this Tuesday. Doing giveaways every single Tuesday this year. It's First Responders Day next Thursday, South Asian Heritage Day Saturday, and a Chop and Sticks socks giveaway Sunday. Lots of mascot giveaways. There was a Chef Wasabi poncho, now a Chop and Sticks socks. Get your tickets, 604-872-5232 or CanadiansBaseball.com.
I don't want to curse them, but I don't believe they've had a rain out yet. And the long-term forecast still looks very amenable. Like, could they go April, May without a single
They
rainout?
had one sort of drizzly, dampish, coolish day.
Yeah.
Every other day at the ballpark this year has been between very nice and absolutely out of this world gorgeous. Results of the poll question from last night asked you, who should the Canucks select with the third pick in the draft? The options here were Caleb Malhotra, Vico Bjork, a defenseman, or trade down. People said?
Malhotra.
Correct. Percentage?
50.
52. Jenna, honestly, I don't give a shit anymore. So sad. We've known Jenna for a long time. Mike Verhoff, anyone else would be a major mistake. Troy.
Verhoff.
Verhoff had some love in the comments. Well, played some in Victoria, right? Plus the big, strapping, tough defenseman. That's got an audience. Troy says San Jose will pick a defenseman. We'll get Stenberg. Saw a lot of that. Vanley, if San Jose takes Stenberg, you take Chase Reid. If they take Reid, you take Stenberg.
Hence our poll question today.
And Paul, the only real answer is to trade down. Again, love the notion. Just so rarely happens in the National Hockey League.
And it also just depends on what San Jose does. Like, if San Jose goes defenseman, you don't trade down.
You take Stenberg.
Yeah.
Errors and omissions from yesterday's program and beyond. I believe at least once, if not a couple of times, I talked about the Detroit Red Wings winning the lottery. The St. Louis Blues owned the Detroit Red Wings pick. So while it would have been the Red Wings pick to win the lottery, the Blues would have got the move up, 10-spot move up. They were the Red Wings were one of the teams that could win the lottery but not pick first overall, only moving up 10 spots. And you were going to tell me whether the RBC Canadian Open is on the same 18 there at Osprey Valley that we saw
all 3 years.
Yeah.
North Course.
It's a brand new course, and it was made in part by design for the RBC Canadian Open, and they're there again this year, and they're there again next year. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Follow on social. That's X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky, live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. And, of course, please do support the community sponsors you hear us talking about. Keep it local.